Hey everyone, hi, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be going over one of those end of year roundup lists with you, and I'm so excited. I'm such a list girly and I really love book lists. Well, I really love books and I really love lists. So this is just the perfect marriage between the two. And we're in that season. So it's we are not lacking in a list that rounds up 2024 books. Very exciting over here. So if you're new to my channel, then hi, I'm Shelly. I really love books and reading, and I share that passion with you here on the internet, on this channel. If you're liking the vibes, I would encourage you to subscribe, stick around, and without any further rambling on, let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. The list I chose was the best books of 2024 according to Amazon book editors. As much as I love a list, what's more important to me and what actually stands out more are your comments. Whether you said the book was great, terrible, any information you can give to me about a book always helps shape the book in my mind and helps me decide whether I want to read it or not. If Amazon says this book is great and everyone in the comments says that book was wretched, I'm going to listen to you. So leave your comments, your opinions down below. I would really appreciate that. The first book is The Last One at the Wedding by Jason Rekulak. And the way that it is marketed, according to the title and book cover, is that this is going to be a thriller, also according to the description. But what I liked about this cover is that there were words crossed off so that the only words left were last one, which I thought was actually kind of clever. I liked that marketing title tactic. I was immediately sucked in. I've not read anything by this author, but this book sounds really good. So it is about a widower named Frank who has a estranged and estranged relationship with his daughter Maggie. So Maggie invites her father Frank to the wedding, and he comes and he has this he brings his sister, I believe, along, who is a bit of a kooky character. And Maggie is marrying into a wealthy family, but as Miss Clavel would say, something is not right. The person who wrote this blurb, the person is Vanessa Cronin, who wrote this description about the book, says that the author does a great job balancing thriller vibes with humor. So there's tense moments and comedy. One of my money and time saving tactics is to remember a book that I want to read by an author that I could probably get at a better price and has withstood the test of time. And I'm going to apply that technique to this book here. So the next book is There Are Rivers in the Sky by Elif Shafak. And I actually read another Shafak novel which ties into this book, and it was The Island of Missing Trees, in which part of the book was narrated by a tree. And in this book, I think part of the book is narrated, or we're following the audience, the readers are following a droplet of water, I believe. Now, it spans a couple of hundred years. We start in the 1800s to present day. We're tying in all of these different characters and wondering how they are connected. It is supposed to be an epic historical fiction that I think starts off in ancient Mesopotamia. And as much as this is somewhat piquing my interest, I always remember, but you want to read 10 minutes and 38 seconds in this world, something like that. I'll have the title of it over here, and I just remember that that's the book I actually want to read. So instead of trying to go out and buy a brand new book that hasn't necessarily been vetted by the public yet, I am a risk taker with some books, but with other books I'm not necessarily, and I just want to remember that that's actually the book I want to read, the 10 minutes and 38 seconds book. One of the things that I really liked about this list was that there's a mix of fiction and nonfiction and different types of fiction and nonfiction. So our first nonfiction book is John Lewis, A Life by David Greenberg. Now, John Lewis was a civil rights activist here in the United States, had an incredible career, made a huge impact on our civil rights movements here in the US. I'm sure has done a ton of things in his life that I don't even know about and could not articulate to you in this present moment, but I'm sure this biography does a fantastic job going over his life and career. And if you're interested in the civil rights movement in the US or about John Lewis, this is your book. The next book is Fire Exit by Morgan Talty. This is about a character named Charles who is being raised on Penobscot Reservation. I really love the sentence talking about the running theme of the book. Flawed characters you'd physically shake if you could. but who you can't help but root for anyways because they're all trying to do what's best for their loved ones, when what is best isn't always clear. It's supposed to be a melancholy and powerful story. Next up is an Erik Larson book, who is known for his gripping and very entertaining nonfiction, and this is The Devil of Unrest. This is going to be focusing on a single day in 1861 in which Abraham Lincoln is president, and whether or not this mission, this very specific mission, is going to go through. It's supposed to be gripping and basically unputdownable. Next up is The Ministry of Time by Colleen Bradley. This is supposed to be set in the near future that has time travel elements and thriller spy vibes. It is this idea of plucking someone from history and bringing them into the present day. Plucking them from history in the moment that they would have died. And so it has the same effect in history. You're not creating that ripple effect of allowing them to live. So their life would have ended, but instead you're plucking them to the current day. And that is the premise of the novel. It sounds interesting. I think I heard a review that this was boring as snot, but I don't know. I really need to hear your opinions on this novel. I like doing these lists because I hear about books that I wouldn't have normally heard about. And this one that I'm going to be talking about, I'm so excited to now know about, and it is called When the World Tips Over by Jandy Nelson. Now, the reason why I'm excited about this is because I read her book, I'll Give You the Sun, which is a YA, young adult book, and it is fan-frickin-tastic. It is a fantastic book, and I don't get to talk about it enough. It is about a sibling relationship, and it's their growing up moments. The sister is really into art. The brother feels very isolated. Their connection, they're also growing apart. Oh, it's so fantastic. So in this new book, which I am now really excited about, you could probably hear it in my voice, I'm so excited. This is going to be a multi-generational family saga that spans lifetimes and continents and tells a deeply moving story of immigration loss, love, and heartache. The Fall family is a broken, messy group, and the cracks of their broken relationships branch out to a point of no return, threatening the family with a complete collapse. Oh my goodness, if Jandy Nelson is writing at the level that she did with I'll Give You the Sun, this is going to be a phenomenal book. It's also a young adult book. This is also a young adult book, as well as I'll Give You the Sun. I am kind of too excited for my own good. From the author of Thursday Murder Club, Richard Osman's new book, We Solve Murders, is on here. I read the first book of the Thursday Murder Club, which has truly aged people trying to solve murders. It's very, very cute, and it was really effective. So I would be interested in this primarily because Osman has credit in the bank of Shelley. Another nonfiction book, Malcolm Gladwell's Revenge of the Tipping Point. I have read all of Malcolm Gladwell's books up until about 2020. If he has written anything from 2020 on, I think Talking to Strangers was the last one I had read from him. So Revenge of the Tipping Point, I probably won't read because I think I've grown out of my Malcolm Gladwell cycle. But if you're a huge Malcolm Gladwell fan, then know that he's revisiting one of his most popular theories, which is how pandemics start. I'm sure that this is good, and I'm sure it's really fascinating, especially since he wrote Tipping Point before the COVID-19 pandemic. And so I would be really interested in what he has to say if I hadn't already felt like I read myself out of Malcolm Gladwell, if that makes any sense at all. A book that is no stranger to Booktube, which is All the Colors of the Dark by Chris Whitaker. I feel like everybody has talked about this book. It is a literary mystery, if I am getting my facts correct, and it is about a trail of missing girls. And that is the heart of the mystery. However, what I like about this is that in the description by Sierra Wilson, it says, Chris Whitaker's vivid storytelling had me laughing one minute, tears rolling down my cheeks the next, and I could picture everything as clearly as if I were living alongside these characters. Do you like the markers?
Yeah, I mean, so the light is shining on the cross.
I don't know how I'm still a booktuber without having read any Leigh Bardugo. Regardless, Leigh Bardugo has a new book, and the author is doing exactly what the author has done. Magic, but this time set in Renaissance Spain. This next book is marketed to readers just like myself. There is a beautiful painting on the cover, and it has this incredible title that is very literary, I Cheerfully Refuse. And it's also set in the US in the near future, in the Midwest, which is just, all of these things are tickling my reader's fancy. So it is Cheerfully I Refuse by Leif Enger, who is an author I've never read. If you know this book or know this author, tell me about them, please. But it is set in the near future. We're in the Midwest on Lake Superior, and our country is now being ruled by billionaires who preside over work camps. There is someone who has escaped and needs to continue to escape for his life and reconnect with the love of his life. The next book is a book that I own, and it's actually at the bottom of this pile over here, and it is The Wedding People by Alison Esbach. Now, this is about the main character, Phoebe, who checks into this hotel. She is getting away, and at this hotel, she is the only person who is not a wedding guest for a wedding. And so it's supposed to be a funny, I think, comedy of errors type of book where she gets swept up in this wedding even though she's not a part of it. It's supposed to be great. It sounds like a Sandra Bullock movie in a book, which is my cup of tea. The next book I actually saw on Booktube, and it made me want to read this book. Despite myself not knowing exactly who this person is, I have a vague idea of who this person is, and it is Be Ready When Luck Happens by Ina Gardner. Now, the review was so glowing that it made me want to pick up this book, even though I've not watched any of Ina Gardner's television shows, which I think she's known for. She's known for her cooking shows and her cookbooks, things like that. Anyways, the review was all about how this book is like a warm hug, giving grounded, sound life advice from someone who's lived a good bit of life. Next up is Martyr by Kaveh Akbar. Now, this is a debut work. It is compared to Demon Copperhead, essentially, meaning that it is about a young person. It's a coming-of-age story, a young person who has struggled with addiction in their past and is also struggling with their identity. But in Martyr, it is about the Iranian-American identity. This book has gotten quite a bit of praise. I am not the first one to mention it on Booktube, but just know it did make Amazon's list. I kind of love it when a nonfiction title tells you a lot about the book, and that is true of Sharon McMahon's book, The Small and Mighty 12 Unsung Americans Who Changed the Course of History from the Founding to the Civil Rights Movement. I've heard that thematically this book is very strong, but also could be read almost as 12 individual essays focusing on 12 individual people. Next up, a book that is quite popular right now and has been popular by a very, very popular author, and it is The Women by Kristen Hanna, focusing on women who were in some way, shape, or form connected or involved in the Vietnam War and the impact the war had on their lives. I've heard it is a really, really good book and different for Hanna. So a little bit, I think she's garnering a different kind of fandom than she has for her previous big hits, like The Nightingale. This book seems to be gaining a different kind of audience, a different kind of voice for her. The next book is probably the book that is my favorite 2024 release. It is so dang good. So good. And I'm so glad to see it on this list, and it actually just recently won the National Book Award, which I literally squealed in my classroom because I'm a teacher. I literally squealed when I read that. A friend texted me, you know you have the right friends when they tell you who won the National Book Award. I'm like, yes. And it is James by Percival Everett. This is a reimagining of Huckleberry Finn, and it is sharp, it's witty, it's really, really smart. It's a smart book. And I think that I am just so chuffed that James is getting the attention that it's getting, because Everett, I've heard, has had a long career of writing books, and all of them have been incredibly brilliant, and only now is he getting the attention that he deserves. So I'm so glad for Percival Everett. I'm so glad for this book. So good. Their number 2 is another book that I've read, and it is The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. This is a thriller, a mystery set at a camp that has a strange connection of missing children The missing children are a young boy and a young girl from the same family who owns this camp, this summer camp, have gone missing. And so now you're wondering, is it the family, or is it the staff members who have been working at this camp forever? Who is involved with the missing children, and what is going on here? I found this addictively readable. I was like gobbling it all up, despite me not loving mystery and thrillers. I really like mysteries, but I'm not really a thriller reader, but I was gobbling this up. I found it really satisfying, strangely addictive, and some of the details like do stick out in my memory, which I am very glad about. The number one book for Amazon is their number one choice that you should purchase and read or gift, and it sounds really good. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to buy it right now, and it is The Boys of Riverside, a deaf football team and a quest for glory. Now, the reviewer, the person promoting this book, compares The Boys of Riverside to Remember the Titans, a film that came out a couple of decades ago, which was my family's favorite film of all time for a little while. So I have seen that movie probably 100 times. I love that movie. And in Remember the Titans, the young men are fighting racial prejudices. It's about a football team, and the young men are fighting racial prejudices in the 1970s. And so now in this book, the young men are all deaf. And so it is about, there's topics not just about the deafness, but drug abuse, the vilification of sign language, and even the urbanization of farmland, and just about the ups and downs of this incredible team. I think this sounds amazing. I'm actually thinking of someone I could gift this to right now. So I'm like, this sounds really good. And if it's in the hands of a really fantastic writer, a really entertaining writer, I can see why this would be their number one choice. I want to read it just by their description of it. It's already pulling at my heartstrings. So their number one book was effective, at least on me. Let me know your thoughts about this list down below. I would love to know. And yeah, that's it. That's it for me. Thanks so much for hanging out. I really appreciate y'all. And I hope to see everyone in my next one. Bye.